Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everyday Fans podcast. This is episode number 2. I want to thank everybody that viewed the initial episode, subscribed, and thank you for coming back to watch some more. I want this to be an interactive show, so if it's a team I'm not talking about, you want to talk about certain players, um, specific news maybe I don't hit on, because we'll try to hit on the major stuff. But if it's anything I'm not hitting on, just let me know. Ultimately, as this thing builds out, obviously I know it's going to take some time, but I want this to be an inclusive place. So basically, any of the 32 NFL teams, fan bases can come here and feel like, okay, this is a cool place, this is a cool community. Just really wanting to build up a cool community. And with that being said, if you comment or somebody else comments, you don't like that team or this fan base, just be respectful. Um, that's one thing we'll always try to make sure we do here. We want to have good dialogue amongst each other in the comments. Um, Also, if you want to email something, if you don't want to comment, if you want to email something, an idea, a suggestion, excuse me, something you see, the email will be in the description. So, um, with all that being said, we'll just go ahead and get into last night's game. Week 2 is officially underway in the NFL. The Washington Commanders traveled to Green Bay, and it wasn't much of a game, in my opinion. Green Bay dominated early, got the lead, and this looks to be their strategy. Matt LaFleur is pretty good at scripting the first 15 plays. He's one of the better play callers in the NFL, especially early in the game. So Green Bay, they get up to an early lead, roughly 2 scores, and then that plays into the hands of the defense. Green Bay's strength now with the trade for Micah Parsons is the defensive line and putting pressure on the quarterbacks. So once they get a lead, they're able to pin their ears back and get after the passer. Jaden Daniels looked very, excuse me, looked very pedestrian last night, excuse me. And a lot of that stems from the early possessions, not being able to get points. Micah Parsons, Lucas Van Ness, they're able to rush him. Rashawn Gary, and these other defensive tackles or defensive linemen that are able to just tee off on them because they have the lead and they can afford to take risks. Green Bay's secondary was considered to be their weak spot, but basically what I saw last night, that doesn't look to be a weak spot because with this defensive line, they don't have to guard as long. But even on some plays that maybe they didn't get as the initial pressure and Jaden scrambled a little bit, they still stayed with their guys. They didn't have a ton of penalties called on them, so that's always a good thing. Just digging into stats, Jordan Love, he looked every bit of the money they paid him. I think he's about $55 million quarterback now. Um, 19 for 31, about 61% completion percentage, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. And his favorite target was Tucker Kraft. Monster game from Tucker Kraft, the tight end. 6 receptions, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. A lot of that came on one big play, 57 yards on kind of like a seam ball. He threw down to him and they converted on. Love hits these balls like he sees what's happening pre-snap, and as the ball snap, post-snap, he's able to deliver the ball in structure of the offense where it needs to go. And that's a positive. I mean, he's a guy that's been in the league, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now. Maybe this is year 6 because he did sit the first couple of years behind Rodgers, but they've been able to develop him really well. Josh Jacobs, the running game wasn't, extremely effective, but they rushed the ball 30 times, 31 passes, very well balanced. That's what you want in an NFL offense because you keep the defense guessing. Washington's defense didn't have a clue all night. Micah Parsons, not a huge impact on the game in terms of sack numbers, just a half a sack. And I think 1 total tackle, 4 total team sacks for the Green Bay Packers. But he affected the game. Some stunts they did, some different things, moving him around. He's just not putting his hand in the dirt on one side. He's moving around. He's confusing the Washington offensive line. So doing those things confuses the offensive line, and it enables other guys to get free and get home, or himself. That few penalties called on Washington because of holding. So Michael Parsons, even without gaudy sack numbers, just a half a sack on the night, was able to pressure the quarterback. Green Bay in general pressured the quarterback, made Jaden Daniels uncomfortable. Speaking of Jaden Daniels, just 24-42, very pedestrian night, as I said, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 42 passes total compared to just 19 runs. The opposite of Green Bay, very imbalanced on offense, very one-dimensional. And it goes back to what I said. It plays right into the hands of what Green Bay wants. They want you to drop back so they can have their best defensive players come after you. So overall, that game last night, Green Bay just dominated. If I'm being honest, I'd have to say they're in my top, for sure, 5 in terms of rankings in the league right now. They do have the advantage of already playing the early game, so we've seen 2 games of them and only 1 game of everybody else outside of Washington. But Washington's defense looked very bad, honestly, last night. The age showed. They do have a lot of veteran players, and it just didn't seem like they were able to just really generate any pressure. And Green Bay's playing with, a couple of new guys on the offensive line, so it's not like they have guys that have been there year in and year out. They got 2 guys that one made his first start last night and another one made his second career start. So young guys in there, they just were able to execute their game plan and keep it moving. So that's last night. Before we get to NFL, I do want to highlight a couple of college games that I'll be looking at tomorrow. Excuse the noise. Microphone seems to be picking up everything. This is my first use with it, but we'll work with it and just try to improve as we go on in terms of the equipment, the setup, everything, the background. So I'll be constantly trying to evolve this show. But in terms of, real quick before we go, move on. Green Bay's next game is at Cleveland next Sunday. So maybe a softer landing spot, a chance for them to go 3-0. And Washington is hosting Las Vegas. So the next 2 opponents for those teams, just in case if you were wondering. A couple of games tomorrow that I'm interested in terms of college football. First one being Georgia at Tennessee. This might be the biggest game of the day in terms of rankings, or depending on, how you look at it if you watch college football. But this game, this rivalry, very big rivalry. Those 2 states border each other, so big rivalry there. Georgia's won 8 straight games in this rivalry. So some would consider this, just kind of a one-sided affair of recent, since Kirby Smart's been there. Actually, the last time Tennessee has beat Georgia was Kirby Smart's coaching debut in 2016, and that was a Hail Mary pass. So it really wasn't a game Tennessee dominated. It literally took down to the last second for them to win that game. But on the flip side, Tennessee is 21-1 at home since 2022, and his lone loss is to Georgia. So, again, Georgia's just dominated this matchup. In terms of my lean, I just don't see Tennessee. I think they're at the point where it's just like, okay, we gotta win, we gotta beat these guys. But new quarterback. Granted, they have a couple of games under their belt so far. I just think Georgia finally has an opportunity to, I don't want to say flex, but they have an opportunity to finally get off the ground. The first real competitive game of the year. Yes, they haven't looked that great necessarily to start the year, but I think that's more so them maybe not wanting to show some things with their newer starting quarterback, and just kind of trying to wait for this rivalry game to really just show some things, because they got some big games coming up. So they don't want to be showing all that they're going to be looking to do with their players all year in some of these softer games. So my lean is Georgia in this game. Uh, Tennessee, if you like the spread, Tennessee is a short favorite. I think 4.5, 3.5, 4.5. So if you are into betting, this is not a game that looks like it's gonna be a blowout. Um, but it wouldn't shock me if Tennessee won. But my lean is Georgia in this game. More in the evening game, have Florida going to LSU. Florida winning this game last year. I believe it was in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. LSU riding a roughly 5 game win streak going into last season. But the Florida Gators, they're very, I guess you could say, on alert after last week's loss to USF, an unranked team. But USF has beat 2 ranked teams now, and USF is ranked and Florida is not. So this is an opportunity for Florida to kind of reassert themselves, give themselves more confidence going into the rest of the season, because they have the toughest schedule in college football the rest of the year. I mean, they still have Miami to play. They still have Florida State to play. I'm trying to think who else. They have Georgia to play. So a lot of big games still left on the board for Florida. They can make up for this loss last week to USF, but it'll start tomorrow night in Death Valley, one of the toughest places to play in college football. Um, to the LSU side, LSU didn't look very good last week either. They won the game, but they were like a 5 touchdown favorite on the Vegas spread, and I think they won by like maybe 2.5. Very underwhelming performance. The defense looked good. But offensively, Garrett Nussmeier, who's one of these Heisman hopefuls, he didn't have a great game. But ultimately, the win is what matters. I expect him to play better here, but this will be an interesting game. My lean would be LSU. I think they're kind of figuring it out. I think Brian Kelly's finally kind of got things established there. I like Florida too, but I think in this particular game, I think LSU just gets it done late. I think the hostile environment may may be the edge that they need to eke this game out. Um, on to another game that starts about the same time as Texas. They're traveling to South Bend, Indiana to face the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame being a number 8 ranked team, Texas A&M being a 16th ranked team. Texas A&M 2-0. Some more softer games there. Notre Dame being 0-1, the only loss being to Miami on that opening weekend night down in Miami. The young quarterback Carr from Notre Dame, he looked good. Looked good to me late, especially for a first start. Notre Dame has to win this game. All right, this is what it boils down to. Notre Dame has to win this game, and Texas A&M really doesn't. By this being a home game for Notre Dame, I think they run the ball effectively. Teams have already, some softer opponents have already ran the ball pretty well against Texas A&M. So Notre Dame is a power physical team. Offensive line will get out and want to move guys off the ball, off the line of scrimmage, and they will try to run the ball with Pierce and Love to get this win. I think they have confidence in the quarterback Carr to get the job done, but I think they lean on the ground game here to get the job done. And on the Texas A&M side, their defense just hasn't looked like it's looked in the past. And by the way, Notre Dame did play. They played this game last year. They played at Texas A&M. Notre Dame did go there and win last year, but there are some different pieces. Like I said, Notre Dame, Carr is a newer quarterback, but Texas A&M quarterback Marcel Reed, he's also played in this. I think he played a little bit in this game. He wasn't a full-time starter, I think, when this game happened. I think he got the job more midway through the year last year, but he's developed a little bit more as a passer, but he's a dual-threat guy. Ultimately, I think Notre Dame will just be too much. Notre Dame's not in the conference, so if they lose this game, their chances of making the playoffs Not even looking at any data, I would think they fall pretty low. They don't belong to a conference. So what I mean by that is the top five conferences all get a bye. Whoever win the conference tournaments, I mean not a bye, they get an automatic bid into the college football playoff. Notre Dame is an independent, so they do not get a bid automatically. They have to win their games on their schedule. Um, this is a big game. Granted, they lost to Miami, who was a top five team, but they got to start getting some wins. They lose this game. I don't know how many more strong games they have on their schedule that they'll be able to kind of rebound starting the season 0-2. Um, in terms of college, I think that's it in terms of college. Yeah, so in terms of colleges, those are the three games I'm kind of looking at in terms of tomorrow. Um, so if you have time, check those out. If not, I get it. Um, I will shout out the Jackson State University does play, I think at 2 p.m. playing Tuskegee. I don't have information on the channel for that, but HBCU Go has been a lot of games on there. If not, probably ESPN. So um, they play, and then my Ohio State Buckeyes also play in the evening. I will not highlight them on this show. No big game. They're playing Ohio. I'm not expecting much of a threat there in that game. So that's pretty much what I'll be looking at in terms of college tomorrow. Ton of games on, but those are the games I kind of will be watching. The top three that I kind of broke down, and the other two more for personal reasons. Um, but going straight into the NFL Sunday slate. So we'll start with the 12 o'clock games. I'm not going to break down all these games in terms of some things. I'll maybe give some leans, but it's a lot of games to go through. And I don't want to make this an hour long episode, but we'll just see. We'll see how it goes. Um, First game we'll start with is the Cleveland Browns. So Joe Flacco, starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. They're facing the Baltimore Ravens. So a homecoming game here for Joe Flacco, who spent I don't know how many years, but a good amount of years, maybe 8 to 9 years roughly, with Baltimore. Led them to a Super Bowl championship win, something that Lamar Jackson has not done yet. Back in I think like 2012 or something, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the first game he's been back there since Baltimore traded him Lamar's rookie year, roughly halfway through the season. So a bit of an emotional game here for Joe Flacco. A lot of chatter in the media, social media space, guys feeling disrespected by the 11.5 point Vegas spread. So I think this will be a closer matchup. You know, if you're into the betting markets, I think 11.5 points in the NFL is a big number, but the Baltimore Ravens are the type of team, and like we saw in Buffalo, they can get up and beat down on any team. Now, I always have pause when it's divisional games, and this is a divisional game, um, because they know each other very well. But uh, I expect this game actually to be pretty close. You know, if I was betting this game, I would probably look at the plus 11.5. I am not betting it, but I think this game will be a little bit closer. But on the same token, I think Baltimore wants to come out and prove something after the way they dropped the game last week. So, um, in terms of injuries, Cleveland did have some injuries on the defensive line to start the year. I'm not seeing anything in terms of those guys being immediately healthy. Um, Practice time this week. So, and on the Baltimore side, Patrick Ricard, who's a big part of their run game, and Isaiah Likely as well at the tight end spot. Looks like they practice, but they're still on the injury report for this week. So, some injuries to keep an eye on. Um, but I expect Joe Flacco and the Browns to make this somewhat competitive game throughout. If Baltimore pulls out late or backdoor covers or either side, I can see that happening. But I think Cleveland will be a spirited team most of the year, no matter who they're playing. But this is a game that I think I think Baltimore ultimately wins, and but I think Cleveland will be able to keep it close for the majority of it. Next game we'll hit is uh, another homecoming of sorts. So my Chicago Bears are traveling to Detroit Sunday at 12. Both teams 0-1. Um, the Lions, I'll start on the Lions side. The Lions started very bad, very flat offensively. Didn't look like they knew what they were trying to do. Could not run the ball effectively at all. Green Bay just dominated them in that game. Defensively, they didn't look good either. You know, Aiden Hutchinson was coming off the gruesome injury from last year. No tackles, no sacks. You know, I'm not sure about pressures, but he, wasn't really existing. They weren't really getting pressure on Rodgers. I mean, they may have had a couple of sacks on Love, but ultimately it was nothing to really take them out of rhythm early and affect what they were trying to do offensively. Uh, the coach Dan Campbell, saying Dan Johnson, Dan Campbell almost. I mean, he's not guaranteeing a win, but he's very confident in his team coming in or going home and being able to rebound. Um, which, as a Bears fan, is this is the type of game that early in the season I consider it like a gut check game, right? Um, Looking at the Bears side, they dropped the ball, right? We kind of already hit on this in the review show, but they dropped the ball. A lot of mistakes from the top, the coaching staff, which I love that he took accountability, that he did as well. Coach Johnson, Caleb taking accountability. Okay, take the ability, and now let's get better, right? Um, Bears admittedly said they needed to run the ball more. Ben Johnson plans to run the ball more, and Caleb knows he's missed some receivers, uh, and he has to hit those receivers. In terms of the defense, or excuse me, let me back up. The offensive line play was very bad, particularly out of one spot, the right guard spot. Jonah Jackson had one of the worst offensive line games in NFL history. You're not going to win games. Um, not going to be able to run the ball effectively when you have, I think I read around 15. I don't know the terminology they use, but basically, he had 15 plays where he just, it just, it was bad, very bad, right? And on average, you have 3 or 4. That's considered a bad game. 15 is like astronomical. So I don't know what this guy's doing. He was actually a former Detroit Lion with Ben Johnson, and that's one of the reasons Ben brought him in. But uh, he has to be a lot better for them to win this game. If he's not better, if he's making the same type of mistakes, and it's not just him, but that was a glaring hole when I went back and watched some film in terms of what was actually happening in the run game, what was happening in some of the pass breakdowns. I mean, this guy's just whiffing on people, not touching them coming off the line. So he has to be better. In terms of the defense, honestly, I thought the defense played really well. Um, Dennis Allen had them playing very well. I liked the pressure we were getting on the quarterback. We had basically all backup DBs. They played very well to the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, guys are tired. The offense did not help them out. Um, they had, I think, at one point like -4 yards, maybe on the second time they had the ball in the whole quarter. So you have to help your defense by extending drives, letting them get a break, letting them get a breather, so they can actually perform their assignments and their duties um, when it's that time. Because if you notice, anybody that watched that game, the Minnesota Vikings were able to start running the ball effectively. And a lot of that, I think, came from just guys being tired, honestly. So overall, this game, again, I'll say it again, gut check time. Whichever team is just more scrappy, whichever team wants it more, and it's physically seen, I think that's the team that wins this game. I don't have a lean either way. The spread, Favors, I think, Detroit by 5, 6 points. So just under a touchdown. But whichever team wants it more is a team that'll win this game. I'm not overly worried about Caleb in terms of accuracy. It's concerning. It's been concerning. It's a concern I already had coming in. It hasn't necessarily got better, and that's something that he has to get better at. He admittedly said in his press conference, he needs to work on some things, and he saw what he needs to work on. So we'll see, and we'll just keep it moving here to the Giants and Cowboys. Another divisional game with two 0-1 teams. I don't think there's really much expectation for the Giants this year. 0-1, second game on the road here to start the year. Dallas is on this matchup. Dallas is on this matchup the last, I don't know how many years, but okay, let's see. 15 of the last 16 meetings, Dallas has won against the Giants. So, in terms of breakdown, New York does have a very good defensive line. Dallas generally has a pretty good offensive line, but they do have some younger guys. They were able to kind of run the ball a bit against Philly, but Jalen Carter was out for the spitting incident. Dexter Lawrence will be in for the Giants, along with some of those other top edge rushers. So if Javonte Williams is able to run the ball effectively, I think Miles Sanders was behind him, but I think ultimately they're going to just let Javonte get the bulk of the carries there. I think Dak has a big game. I think CD bounces back, and I think Dallas takes care of the Giants here. In terms of the Giants' offense, I mean, Malik Neighbors, get the guy the ball, but Russell's the quarterback, and I'm just not high on him. I don't want to tear him down. I'm just not high on him at all anymore as an NFL quarterback. He had his time. I think that time is over, and honestly, if as a football fan, I want to see Jackson Dart. I thought he was one of the better quarterbacks coming out. The Giants took him, I think it was late first round. So, he's there, and I think the fans will be clamoring for him pretty soon because I think the Giants go to 0-2 here, and we'll see. The only thing that worries me, let's see how the Dallas pass rush. Obviously, they got rid of Micah. They didn't get a ton of pressure against Philly, so but the Giants are down some offensive linemen. Maybe they come back this week. I don't have a full scouting report in front of me, but looks like the left tackle was still showing on the injury report. So we'll see how that works out, and if they are able to improve on the pass rush and get to the quarterback. But ultimately, even without that, I think Dallas is able to win the game outright here at home, which is usually a pretty good home team. Next game we'll go to is Jacksonville going to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow admittedly said that he needs to play better and he's going to be more aggressive. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like, but Joe Burrow is one of the top quarterbacks in this league. Jamar Chase was all but irrelevant, last week. Really couldn't get anything going. But I think this game could ultimately be like one of the better games of the week in terms of like if you like shootouts, a lot of scoring. I don't trust the Jacksonville defense. They were able to. It's showing that they were able to get a lot of pressure last week. 40% pressure rate, rushing 4. So if they can do that, their defense will be much improved this year. But I'm not gonna just buy into after one game, especially playing the Carolina Panthers. So, based on how these defenses were more last year is what I'm basing this off of. I think both of these teams will be able to move the ball up and down the field, and if they can convert in the red zone, we could see some points here. Travis Hunter is looking like he's going to play more because they have two top receivers in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So it's looking like Liam Cohen, coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is saying, as the year progresses, he'll be playing more on defense. Looks like he had just 6 snaps last week and played a lot of more on offense. I think he led the team in catches with six. Yeah, team high six passes for 33 yards. Yeah, with just six defensive snaps. So that'll be interesting to follow his story in terms of him playing both ways. We haven't seen this in the NFL. So interesting game here. I don't really have a lean in on this game, honestly. Um, I think Vegas has them as a let's see here. I think it was like 3 or 4 points when I saw it. I'm not sure. I don't have it on this page here, but regardless, it wasn't a large spread, and either way, I think this game is one that would actually be kind of somewhat entertaining to watch if you like offenses. Next, we have Buffalo going to New York. Um, Buffalo, they're right up there for me at the top in terms of rankings in terms of the league. They may be number one. Um, there's some things that kind of worry me in terms of their defense. So especially particularly in this game, Ed Oliver, who has some big plays in that game. Yeah, it's showing here that he's ruled out due to an ankle injury, leaving Daquan Jones and two rookie backups, T.J. Sanders and Deion Walker, on the active roster at the defensive tackle spot. This New York Jets football team is a team that's going to be physical. They're going to run the football. They're going to run it with Justin. They're going to run it with Brees Hall. Uh, the other back, Braylon Allen. So uh, this is going to be a physical football game. The Buffalo Bills already gave up damn near 200 yards on the ground to Buffalo if it wasn't 200 yards because Derrick Henry himself had 170, 180, right? No, they gave up over 200 because Lamar had 40 or 50 on the ground. So this could be I don't want to say similar game, but it wouldn't shock me if this game kind of went back and forth, was a little bit more high scoring too, just based on that. Because Aaron Glenn wants them to be physical. He wants them to be a team that plays more of an old school style of football in terms of running the football and playing defense to win games. They're not going to be a team that's just dropping back and throwing it 40 times, and because they're not going to win games like that. I love Justin, former Buckeye, former Bears quarterback. That's just not his game, right? That doesn't mean he can't win a game here or there doing it, but that's not how you're going to win consistently with Justin Fields as your quarterback. So, uh, honestly, this was at 7 earlier in the week in terms of the spread. So Vegas like Buffalo by a touchdown. I think that was too many points. I think this game is going to go down to the wire. Last possession. Um, I wouldn't even be shocked if the Jets won this game. Honestly, they played a very spirited game last week against Pittsburgh that they did not get. I think that game gave them a lot of confidence even without the loss. So um, if I had a pick on the day of, like, I don't want to say biggest dog, but like a surprise that people really wouldn't be like, oh, how did Jets beat Buffalo? This would be the game. The Jets at home, divisional game. I think the Jets may be able to run the football very effectively and get this win. Not saying they will. I'm just saying that this wouldn't surprise me at all. If I had to pick an underdog for the week to win, this would be my team that I pick. Because some of these other ones is like, to me, they're not underdogs. Like 1 point games, to me, that's more closer to a pick 'em. Again, if you're not in a betting, it's really just how Vegas values each team, and they put numbers how they value each team. You get a certain amount of points for home games versus road games. You know, Buffalo being a 7 point favorite on the road is suggesting that they think Buffalo is at least a touchdown better, even though they're not at home, than the Jets. So that's basically all that means. NFL numbers, that's pretty high number for the NFL. Usually you get a little bit tighter spreads, 3, 4, 5. Um, but you can get all the way down to like 1, 1.5. Next game is Seattle at Pittsburgh. With this game, not a lot here. Not a lot here that I really want to highlight. Sam Darnold looked bad. I don't know how much I trust this Seattle team. I think they can win some games this year. The Pittsburgh defense did not look good, but Darnold didn't look good either. So, I mean, we'll see here. Pittsburgh first home game of the year, coming off a huge win. I expect Pittsburgh to win this game. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty solid. Um, but the Pittsburgh O line is pretty bad. So Seattle may be able to generate some pressure with a defensive head coach. Um, but we'll see. Ultimately, I think Pittsburgh wins this game. I want to speed it up here, so I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on that game. And I'm going to just highlight a few others here. The Rams at the Titans. Rams at Titans. Rams are a playoff team, in my opinion. Tennessee Titans are not. Um, Rams are on the road. First home game of the year for the Tennessee Titans. As far as injuries, I don't have that pulled up, so I'm not really sure. But the key players, Matthew Stafford's up, Puka Nakua's up, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, the rookie for Tennessee, Cam Ward's up. So I, I I expect the Rams to win this game, and not just a whole bunch else into that. Another divisional game, the Patriots go to the Dolphins. Not a game I'm interested too much at all. If I had to lean, showing, I think I saw that the Dolphins like a 1.5 point favorite, which is surprising because I actually think the Patriots are maybe a little bit of dark horse in the AFC, but we'll see. Um, and the way the Dolphins played last week, it was just bad. So more of a game I'm just looking at from a distance. Like a lot of these games is more of a distance thing, but some of the other ones I feel like are just bigger stories. Certain teams are bigger stories or just, draw a little bit more. The 49ers generally would be a team I would dive into more, but a lot of injuries. Brock Purdy out. They're going to the Saints. I think this is going to be a very underwhelming game. And now that I said that, watch this be the highest scoring game on the slate. But Brock Purdy out, Christian McCaffrey's in, but I I don't expect a lot out of Mac Jones to back up. Actually, the Saints are live to win a game here, right? And I'm not going to say that a lot this year. The Saints are live for a game here only because of the injuries. If Brock was in, if Kittle was in, um, I would not even give the Saints a chance in this game, but I give them a chance because the 49ers are really banged up, and that just seems to be the story with them recently. So we'll see how it goes with them, but it just seems like how it's been for the 49ers the last few years. And, here we are again, right? So hopefully they can get healthy. The league is better, I feel like, when they're a good team. So hopefully they can get healthy and get back their guys pretty soon here. The Panthers at the Cardinals. Another very underwhelming game. Interesting thing here. I don't know how to feel about the Cardinals. I think they can be better, but they didn't really show anything last week against the Saints. I felt like their defensive line would get more pressure last week, but maybe the Saints O line isn't as bad as maybe the Panthers O line is because the Panthers gave up 40% pressure rate with four guys against Jacksonville last week. So, excuse me. I'll be very interested to see what kind what kind of pressure, excuse me, what kind of pressure the Cardinals get uh, rushing for this week, because that will tell me a lot in terms of is the Panthers O line really bad or is the Cardinals D line not really bad? Because I'm really interested in their defense with Arizona, because I think if their defense is really good, like toward the top of the league, I think they're gonna win more games than people are kind of giving them credit for. So I think Arizona wins this game. Uh, and I don't really have a ton else in terms of that. Probably the biggest. Oh no, let's go to this one. Denver at Indianapolis. So Indianapolis had a beat down of Miami last week. Denver did not look good versus the Titans at home. Denver is a very sexy pick for a lot of people, a lot of talking heads, I guess, which is me now too, right? Um, I think Denver looks good. They have a Hall of Fame coach. They have a pretty good young quarterback who didn't look good last week, but he had a pretty good year last year. So we'll see how that works. Uh, Denver is a little bit of a favor here on the road. Looks like 2.5 points is what I'm seeing currently. Uh, I like Indy in this game. I think Indy is kind of one of those teams that gets overlooked in the grand scheme of things in the league. They haven't been good, but I think Daniel Jones might be one of those type of quarterbacks who it's taken a few years. It's taken him to be in certain systems, and by him being in Minnesota last year under Kevin O'Connell, it seems like a lot of guys do well when they're around him. I think he teaches the game very well, and I think he learned a lot. And then Shane Steichen, the coach in Indy, has had very good success with mobile quarterbacks. So I think this will be a slug match. The 2.5 points spread indicates that. I think Indy finds a way to win this game late. This is another underdog pick here. Um, the Jets one is a little bit more. They're a bigger underdog, but I think the Colts can win here at home. So two dogs at home to win this week. Um, really good defense that the Broncos have, but I think the Colts will make enough plays with Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, a decent group of receivers, not the best, but Michael Pittman. They got Pierce. They got Adonai Mitchell, uh, Josh Downs. So they got some receivers over there. Nothing that's just nobody that's just going to blow the doors off you, but guys that can get open, guys that can make plays. Um, and I like the Colts to win at home against Denver. Last game in the afternoon window. Big game here. Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champions, traveling to the team that's been in the Super Bowl every year, it seems like, since, I don't even know, the last 5 or 6 years or whatever it's been, right? The Kansas City Chiefs. This is a must win, I think, for Kansas City. I don't think they can go down 0-2 with the likes of Denver and the likes of the Chargers, who have gotten significantly better in that division, and compete. Now, people will say, oh, it's the Chiefs. Yes, but time waits on nobody. They're getting older, just like everybody else. They have to replenish. And they got injuries. They got suspensions. They got things that are happening that they're just constantly having to combat. Xavier Worthy is showing that he's questionable. I mean, I don't see him really playing this game after having a separated shoulder last week, a little over a week ago, because they played on a Friday. But uh, it doesn't look good for their offensive weapons. Isaiah Pacheco, he wasn't really able to run the ball effectively. Kareem Hunt either. Jalen Carter, I don't see anything on him, so I'm assuming he's going to be in. So that'll bolster that defensive front for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts looked pretty good week one. Wasn't really throwing to arguably his top receiver, A.J. Brown, a whole bunch. But it doesn't look like A.J.'s letting it affect him too much. But I was very unimpressed with the Eagles' offense. Saquon wasn't very effective either. So I guess a little bit of shout out to that Dallas defense without Micah. But maybe it was a delay too, because before the delay in that game, on that opening Thursday night, both teams were moving the ball kind of at will, and then afterwards things kind of just slowed down. So maybe we chalk some of that up to the delay, but very interesting game here. 1 point spread. The Chiefs are 1 point underdogs at home. That's generally a spot you want to take the Chiefs as a short underdog at home. Um, Man, I don't know. I have a lean on this game. This will be just a game I'm watching uh, because Philly, I think, is still one of the better rosters, even though defensively they didn't look that great in the opening night. I think offensively they'll start to figure it out because they're a team that want to run the football. And when you got Saquon Barkley in the backfield and you want to run the football willingly, you're gonna have success. And they have one of the better receiving tandems in the league with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. So once Saquon gets it going, once they add some of that play action passing game, they'll be able to get their offense going a bit more. And this is a team that put up 40 points in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs last year. So um, ultimately, both teams are very capable of winning this game. I don't have a lean here, honestly. But I think it is a game that I think the Chiefs need to win this game. You know, they go down 0-2, one of them being at home. Obviously, they're the Chiefs, so they're not as in trouble as some of these other teams. But I'd be a little bit worried. The night game for Sunday, I'm gonna try to keep this under an hour. Looks like we're about 45 minutes here. Um, Atlanta travels to Minnesota. Two young quarterbacks, two second-year quarterbacks, but obviously McCarthy was out last year, so this only be J.J. McCarthy's second start. Penix, he didn't start last year, so he's got a few more starts under his belt. Uh, so an interesting game here. You know, NFL showcasing some of the young quarterbacks on prime time, which I think is a good thing for these young guys and for the league in general, because a lot of these guys are pretty good. Um, but defense, some of these defenses are really good too. So first off, Penix against that Minnesota Vikings defense. That'll be the question. Minnesota a favorite here at home, coming off a big win here in Chicago, comeback win. I'll be interested to see how Penix handles the blitz. I think Atlanta may be very, I don't want to say prepared. I guess prepared, but they have the skill set and the playmakers to be able to handle that. With Bijan having like over 100 yards receiving, him being able to check down pretty quick to Bijan for big plays, I think can go a long ways in terms of helping them be in this game, get a lead in this game, move the chains, stay in this game. Um, but Atlanta's going to have to be able to run the ball, which they weren't able to do against Tampa Bay. They'll need to be able to run the ball effectively to win this game. Um, Atlanta's defense was able to get some pressure last week on Baker. Chicago was also able to get some pressure last week on JJ. So if Atlanta's able to continue that pressure, um, they have a real good shot of winning this game here. Going down 0-1, a game they'll probably need. Minnesota against that defense. I think JJ's got some confidence here, and I think that the run game between a mix of Aaron Jones and who's the other back, Jordan Mason, will do well for them. I think if they're able to run the football and keep some of that pass rush at bay, because a lot of the pass rushers for Atlanta are younger guys, so kind of keeping that pass rush at bay, I think it bodes well for Minnesota to go 2-0 here. My lean here is I think the number was like 4.5. I would have took the 4.5 early in the week. In terms of the Falcons, because I think this will be a tight game. Ultimately, I think the coaching is better in Minnesota, so my lean is Minnesota to win this game here at home. Kevin O'Connell is one of the better coaches in the league. I don't think he gets enough credit for it. So my lean here in this game is ultimately for Minnesota to get this win. And another, Brian Flores, a defensive coordinator, he's a capable guy. Been a head coach, very smart guy too. So the Minnesota coaching staff is very good. First game at home, that place is going to be rocking. JJ's first game, home game under center there. So I anticipate them to be able to get the job done and win that Sunday night game at home and start 2-0. Let's see here. Monday night. So the last two games here are Monday night. The first one is the Buccaneers at the Texans. And of course, I don't have anything pulled up on that. So I'll just go with what I know on that. So Texas offensive line is um, very bad, maybe the worst in the league, and that doesn't bode well for any offense. They really struggled against the Rams last week, and I'm not sure how much better it gets. The Buccaneers aren't like a premier pass rush team, but Todd Bowles knows how to scheme a defense pretty well. So I do not have a lean on this game in terms of which side I would take, but I find it hard to believe that Houston's just going to lay down here. Excuse me, and the Buccaneers are also dealing with some injuries still. So um, I don't have a ton on this game. I just know that for the Texans to win, CJ Stroud needs to have a little bit of time to get rid of the football. You know, they have some injuries with the backfield. Joe Mixon is out. You know, Nick Chubb isn't really what he once was. So they'll need to get that ground game going a little bit to kind of help that offensive line get going. But uh, this is a big game for the Texans. A lot of these teams that are 0-1, you know, it's very difficult to go down 0-2 and expect to win your division or compete for a top seed in the conference. So the Buccaneers being a playoff team last year, the Texans being a playoff team here, I think this is a fight down to the wire. And honestly, I think it's late as if that offensive line is getting tired and Ty Bowles can dial up some pressure. I think the Bucks will go in there and still a win, but I I don't know. This should be an interesting game. I think a 2.5, 3.5 point spread if I can remember correctly. Last game of the week is the Los Angeles Chargers. They're headed to Las Vegas. Um, I really like this Chargers team, man. Um, Me being an Ohio State guy, uh, Jim Harbaugh coming from Michigan. I still liked him as a coach because I liked him as a coach prior to him going to Michigan, even though he's a Michigan guy. Very good coach, him and his brother, his whole family, football family. And he's got this team rearing to go. They believe he has one of the better young quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert. And by them beating the Chiefs opening night, I think that gives this team a lot of confidence in terms of we can compete with anybody in the league. And I think they already thought that. Yes, they have injuries like anybody else. Yes, they're working in some new young pieces like anybody else. But ultimately, I think they would. I don't want to say dominate, but they're gonna bring it to Vegas. Okay, and Vegas is a tough physical team as well. They have Pete Carroll, oldest coach in the league. He's won a national championship and Super Bowl. So no, the Vegas will not be. This will not be an easy win, but ultimately, I think the Chargers go in to win this game. Um, I just think the roster is better in Los Angeles than it is in Las Vegas. They're trying to rebuild and do some things. So uh, looks like Pete Carroll and the Vegas Raiders may be missing Brock Bauer. So if they're missing him, that's going to be a big blow. Um, I'm pretty sure the Chargers will prepare as if he is playing, but uh, that'll be a massive blow for that Las Vegas Raiders offense if he's not able to go. Ashton Genty wasn't really able to get much going on the ground last week. Um, Another reason I don't like taking running back super high, even though I think he was a really good talent. I thought actually the running back in that the Chargers got on Marion Hampton was a little bit better of a pick, and you were able to get him. They were able to get him later in the first round, which I'm okay with, depending on how your team is built, and I'm okay with how the Chargers did that because they drafted offensive lineman high, and now they're trying to plug in some dynamic players around that. So I'm all for that in team building the way they did that. So I'll be interested in that matchup. Two rookie running backs. Omarion Hampton isn't the main. I think he's a lead back, but he's also splitting with Najee Harris. Uh, Ashton Genty being more the main guy in Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see those two young backs kind of go at it, see who has a better game there. But Justin Herbert will be the best player on the field, and I anticipate him to get the job done, hit his guys. move the football, and ultimately score. You know, they have a really good kicker, so anytime they're pretty close, I think they score. This is a dome game, so um, not a whole lot else in terms of analysis or feels in this game. I really like the Chargers, not only in this game but on the year as a whole. Um, I really think that if they win winning this game puts them in position to win a division. I'll say it that way. They'll be 2-0, 2-0 in the division, and with the ability to just continue to get better, get guys healthy. So that'll do it for this episode. I thank you guys if you made it this far for following along with me. I'm getting comfortable doing this and hope to get better in a lot of different ways. So that'll do it for this week. I will try to do 2 episodes a week. That's kind of my goal. Kind of do like a preview type show and then a wrap up or recap on like Tuesday. So Tuesdays, wrap up a review, reaction type of video. And then on Fridays, like today, hopefully I can get this up today. This is Friday. I'm recording this. More like a preview for the weekend and week because we will try to sprinkle in a few college games, but just talking ball. Comment below again anything you want to see, any teams I didn't hit on, any teams I didn't give enough love to. I'll try to talk about more. Subscribe, and I love y'all and thank you.